Okay, let's read it. 3 days ago. Why Artosis is wrong about CC first in PvT and why it is a sleeper build. I was watching a new Artosis video. It's the one where it goes CC first, where he classifies CC first as worse than 4-pool. In other words, he is saying that the build is utter garbage. He posits that there is a wide variety of builds that CC first simply loses against, and because it is so vulnerable without an immediate win factor like a 4-pool has, that the risk-reward evaluation declares it not viable. While this may apply to ladder, where players are more prone to cheesy all-in strategies, I would contend that the probability of Protoss macro builds at the highest level makes CC First a very strong build, given that CC First counters said macro builds. At a high elo, I would say 60% of the games are Dragoon expand, 25% are Nexus First, and maybe 10% are Zealot expansion. He pulled those numbers out of his ass, by the way. 100% pulled those numbers out of his ass. He did not look that up and calculate that in any real way. The actual percents are likely different from what I estimated, but the point still stands that some mixture of those openings compromise the majority of PvT. He literally named the 3 things you can do. He literally named the 3 things you do and says that that comprises the majority of PvT. No shit. CC First handily beats range expand. Range less expand, all variations of Nexus First, and even Zealot expand. If the Terran scouts a Zealot moving across the map, he can pull 5 SCVs, which in combination with 1 Marine can hold and guarantee an advantage. Okay, so this guy is just, he just doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay, so here, let's look at it. Okay, so CC First handily beats. Okay, so this is what I was arguing about in my video, was that it doesn't actually handily beat anything. It gets ahead against builds, but it doesn't handily beat it. The games are still played. There's still a lot of back and forth. There's still a lot of room on both sides to make mistakes and make great plays. It does not handily beat anything. It just gives you an advantage. Okay, so already completely wrong. And then he says, even Zealot expand. If Terran scouts a Zealot moving across the map, he can pull 5 SCVs. This is the craziest thing I've ever heard. So apparently, if you somehow scout a Zealot walking towards you while you're going CC First, you can pull 5 SCVs. I'm sure that doesn't fuck up your economy. Meanwhile, by the way, making a Zealot doesn't screw up anything that Protoss is doing. This is so crazy. Which in combination with 1 Marine can hold and guarantee an insane advantage. So 5 SCVs pulled because you see a Zealot walking towards your base gives you an insane advantage. He doesn't realize that you literally lose more money than the Zealot is worth by pulling 5 SCVs. That is absolutely insane. This is 100% wrong. That is not good for Terran to pull 5 SCVs. Here's my evidence supporting why CC First hard beats those builds. It doesn't. Within the linked game, Bisu goes for a rangeless expand, which renders him unable to put on any real threatening pressure. Speed then opts to go for an accelerated 5 factor that moves out around 8:30, roughly 30 seconds earlier than a normal 5 fact. Bisu scouts this and dedicates his entire game plan to mass-producing units to try and hold the incoming push. He does not tech into Arbiters or Reavers and does attempt to secure a fourth. Both of these options have been ruled out because they will delay his gateway production, which he sorely needs to hold off the push. So he essentially is going for a 3 base all-in that doesn't just need to hold off the push, but crush it and immediately counterattack. You do not need to immediately counterattack. Like, the guy just doesn't... It's so weird because I literally commentated the game and I point out everything that's happening, and then he writes down what's happening, and that's his proof. It's the weirdest shit I've ever seen. Keep in mind, a normal 5 factory off of factory expand is already a very strong build and absolutely has the potential to decapitate the Protoss. So one that hits 30 seconds early, which is around 2 Protoss macro cycles. A Dragoon takes 32 seconds to build. How is 30 seconds 64 seconds? How is 30 seconds 64 seconds? What the fuck are we talking about? How is 30 equal to 64? Dude, this shit is insane. This is insane. By the way, plenty of upvotes for the Brood War subreddit. Okay, let's keep going. Whoo! Where were we? 2 Protoss macro cycles means that the Protoss will have far less units to defend than he would against a normal 5 fact. You'll have 1 unit per gateway less if you get right across the map. While the push looks somewhat close, the fact is that even if Bisu held, his sacrifices in economy and tech would have guaranteed that speed would outscale him due to getting upgrades and setting up a third. I would honestly say the percentage of winning with an accelerated 5-fact push is around 80%, either in the first push attempt itself or its aftermath, with the only losses due to bungled micro. So given that the vast majority of Protoss openings are currently macro-oriented, which CC first is safe and advantageous against, I think the build is a lot stronger than what Artosis is giving it credit for. So he's got all these facts and numbers that aren't facts, and they aren't research numbers at all. I guarantee you this guy doesn't play Brood War. I guarantee it. 100%. He does not play. Okay? So that's a problem. And then we're seeing things.
111 cheered. X300. I've always maintained that TVP builds are essentially a series of Mario Party minigames, where in each one if Protoss wins they win the entire game. If Terran wins they just get to keep playing the game.
That's pretty accurate.
And Protoss gets to choose all of the mini-games played.
It's actually, that's a good take on it, Tunger. That's very accurate. That's very accurate. So he is saying that it's 80% win rate. No data to back this up. No data to back all this up. He thinks that 30 equals 64. So that's wild. That's fucking wild. By the way, Zealots, what is it? 25-second build time? Is maybe, let's say he was talking about Zealots. Is 30 equal to 50? Is 30 equal to 50? We know it's not equal to 64. We already checked. But is it equal to 50? Maybe he's right there. I'll have to check it with a calculator later. Oh, my God. You might be right. If you can read what he wrote and just think about it, just with logic, and ask yourself, did he research these numbers or did he literally make them up to disagree with me? Then you wouldn't type, you might be right. Oh, my God. Zealot pressure from P is strong and totally viable. I just don't see CC first becoming a normal, stable opener at all. It's a risky move you do in a series. Yes! Yeah, I'm talking about the current meta. I'm sure if it becomes too common, it'll get countered by proxies and bulldogs. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. But for now, it is sleeper strong. Okay, so now we just got to the bottom of this. Okay, this is the guy that made the post, right? Dependent Soft 2206. Dependent Soft 2206. Okay, so this is a TeamLiquid.net Brood War fan. So this is explained a lot because he's on Brood War Reddit, but he's from Team Liquid, okay? Because those are the only people that know what the fuck the Bulldog is. The Bulldog is a build from 2006 where you would go 3 gateways and a shuttle with 4 Zealots, and you would literally fly in, drop the Zealots on top of the tanks with siege mode, and run in with the goons. The fact that he thinks that this build could ever work against anything in the modern day is insane. Okay? This build is 100% gone. The combination of a bunker and Terrans not blindly sieging their tanks to defend made this build go 100% obsolete. It is not a build anymore. No one does it ever. It doesn't beat anything. and it wouldn't beat CC first. CC first would fucking smash that. So we're seeing right here just the complete lack of understanding as to what the fuck is going on in StarCraft. But that can be an advantage too. If Protoss use more aggressive builds, they have a lower economy, and then you don't need CC first as much to counter eco builds. Oh, man. Yes, CC first is underrated. What's even more underrated is paragraph formatting. Savage, smiley face. I think on 4-player maps, 14cc can probably see a bit more play for Terran. The problem is you claim that CC first is good against Zealot expand, but pulling 5 SCVs to deal with an early Zealot is not positive EV play. Oh, look, it's someone that plays StarCraft probably. That understands you can't pull 5 workers to deal with a Zealot and be okay. Wait. Let's just double check what he said. Where was the 5? The 5. If he scouts it, pulls the 5 SCVs with 1 Marine, he can hold and guarantee an insane advantage. An insane advantage. Not just an advantage, an insane advantage. Woo! You're going to be behind because the rallied Zealots are going to cause a lot of trouble, and the fact that not everyone is going to have God tier SCV micro to deal with the Zealot. The point of going factory expand is so that you don't just insta-lose to any particular build and you can go for a normal opening. It's risk reward. You could die to early Zealots, or you might get away with CC first. Nothing is in a vacuum. Thank you, someone who actually has a fucking brain cell. Oh my God. It just depends on micro. But I remember a game in ASL where JYJ held a CC first against a proxy gate Bisu did. He eventually lost, but if he could hold a proxy, I think holding multiple rallies Zealots at high elo isn't unreasonable. Also, you are totally okay sacrificing 5 SCVs to stop the Zealot pressure, because the more Zealots the Protoss makes, the more delayed the expansion becomes. He literally has no idea what's going on. This is... Everything he is typing is wrong. Everything he is typing is wrong. Completely false. Not really if Protoss goes gasless, and even if he does go gas, he can still reasonably get Nexus on time. Thinking that losing 5 SCVs early game just to get a CC up being worth it shows a profound lack of understanding of the game. Yes! Thank you! Thank you. This is so wild that people are even... It's just so stupid. It's just so stupid. Such a profound lack of understanding. What is a reasonable time to get a Nexus up, in your opinion? If the Protoss goes Zealot, Goon into expand, but the Terran manages to hold and loses 5 SCVs in the process, who do you think is more ahead? Do you seriously think it's that Protoss favored? By the way, 100% Protoss is ahead in this scenario. 100%. And the fact that he thinks that pulling 5 SCVs is going to block that, he doesn't know how the economy functions. You can't afford your factory. You can't afford to make Marines and SCVs nonstop if you pull 5 SCVs before 3 minutes. It just won't happen. You just won't be able to afford anything. Yeah, the Terran can lose to the Zealot pressure, but it's not guaranteed loss if he micros well. Think about what you just said. Why would a Protoss go 3x Zealot and 1 Dragoon versus Terran? If the P hasn't scouted and opts to do this instead of a quicker Nexus, then you are absolutely required to deal 425 plus minerals of damage to not fall behind. What? What? Also, IMO 5 fact after 14cc is pretty all in, because failing means P can double expand and clobber T in the macro game. People seem to vastly undervalue killing a 3rd or 4th Nexus in TVP. The whole point of 14cc is to try to maximize the advantage going to the mid game by holding P to 2 bases. Any good P will look at a turtled Terran and decide to take a free third based on obs timing. If you fail to scout that it was a 14cc, you shouldn't be surprised when your third is getting sieged and your rallies are mined to hell. Ask any Protoss how shitty it feels to be on an equal number of bases with Terran. There's some things that are right here and some things that are wrong. Like, there isn't a way to not scout that it's 14cc. Like, you'll just see it when you get there. It doesn't matter what scout time you use. When you get there, you'll see that the CC is done in mining. So it's like you'd have to be really, really, really low level to not, like, if you're B or above, when you see the CC mining and you look at the clock, you know what the timing of the CC was. It's not rocket science, right? So that's a little bit weird. I don't even understand what this means, whether he's talking about Terran or Protoss there, but okay. Wait, what just happened? 5-fact is not all in at all. 5-fact is incredibly flexible, allows you to either push if Protoss didn't get enough gateways, or you can expand yourself and have enough units to defend a counter. Just an FYI, he's correct again. 5-fact after 14cc. Wait. Anything you do after a CC first or a Nexus first is less all in than if you do it off a normal expand. So the fact that he's like, no, I mean, it's all in after the higher eco build. That's the opposite of what it would be. Because first off, KT Flash 96 here is correct. A 5-factory is not all in. You can go all in with a 5-factory. It's possible. But like, it's just a very flexible build overall if you make the right choice. That's kind of the hard part about 5-fact is making the right choice. But the fact that this guy is trying to back up and saying, hey, look at this. 5-fact is why I use by don't start with 14cc. It's like a forced all in because you're either going without a CAD eBay armory or you delay the timing. It's just less all in with a 14cc. It's less all in. You have more SCVs. You got the factories faster. Trades are better for you than in a situation where you went factory expansion or gasless expansion. It's just completely the opposite. Like, if you don't need to be an expert on StarCraft. You just have to think logically to know this. This is like just a principles of the world type of thing where it's like, well, hold on. If I got a jump start on everything, then everything has more wiggle room after that. This isn't study StarCraft for 26 years and somehow come across this piece of information. This is simply clear thinking to know that if you get a jump start on everything, everything is less all in than if you didn't get the jump start, right? Like, very clear, very clear. The standard 5-fact gets Armory eBay at 445 through 530. Then Academy around 7 minutes. See, he actually fucking plays the game. Like, he actually, look at this. He actually knows the timings. He's like actually saying it instead of like, well, the win rate is actually this. I would say it's an 80% win rate, and you get an insane advantage pulling 5 SCVs.
X300 RTI was running the numbers, and as we know, a Zealot takes 25 seconds to make, but what you don't know is you get a 20 seconds discount on the next one. Also, I
feels like that sometimes.
We know for a fact vultures do 150 splash damage, so if you are 30 seconds earlier, you can start one-shotting things with vultures. And obviously CC first means you have a control group of BCs you can use to expand. I've run the numbers. I don't play StarCraft, but I'm on Reddit and conceptually 3,500.
Yeah, this guy seems to think so. Let's continue. Thank you. Okay, so 7 minutes after you start your machine shop. I don't know what 5-fact you're going for, but this is the most stock standard build at the moment. This is off a factory expander where your CC is going down 24 supply. At 14cc, well, actually, standard expand is 25 supply CC. So he's got something a little bit wrong here, but maybe he plays greedy. So that's okay. We're going to forgive him for it. 14cc would accelerate your factory timing, which normally go down at around 7:38 minutes. But off of 14cc, they could be dropped at 7 minutes flat. Hence why the normal push timing around 9 minutes would become 30. Thus, Protoss has less units to defend. No clue what your rank is, but if you don't even know a basic standard 5-fact build or you're doing it wrong, then you shouldn't be talking about this. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Dude, why do I keep going deeper into this? Back when I still played a lot of Brood War, I was B- ranked on Icy Cup. Okay, so I want to mention something about this, okay? When StarCraft Remastered came out, everyone claimed to be A rank, okay? I went to the USA Finals 7 times, the record. I was one of the top foreigners. I played in countless tournaments. I represented United States 2 times at WCG Finals. And I never got A rank, but all these people came out of the woodwork saying they got A rank, and me and Tasos were laughing our asses off about that. Now, that just shows that people way exaggerate how good they were back in the day. So the fact that he's saying B- probably wasn't B-, probably was not. Anyways, this was back in the golden age of Kespa, where pros and amateurs were plentiful, and I worked graveyard shift. Even a C- Protoss could demolish you if you missed a building by a few seconds. It was incredibly unforgiving and frustrating. I wonder if this is why I feel like Artosis does. We both have mediocre North American mechanics. How is he grouping himself with me? It is okay to say that I have mediocre North American mechanics. You could say that about me and have an argument for it. But you can't group yourself with me because I could beat you with one fucking hand. So what the fuck are we talking about here? Stop. Stop while you're behind. And have felt the power of no-name Koreans that make even the best foreigners look like C rank. The best are still the best, but in 2007, it was super common to lose when you felt like you played really well because of a seemingly minor mistakes. It was super common for someone to have like 3 super optimized builds, one for each matchup that would brute force wins if you weren't on par with the other player mechanically. Even Flash had a losing record going 14cc against Protoss during the Kespa days. I suppose Artosis and I are just Brood War boomers at this point. This is the type of game I expected to see when you go 14cc against Bisu. Okay, let's back it up. Let's see. Okay, we already went through that thread. Artosis needs to start playing random. He doesn't know how to micro muta, and he can't macro his toss either. He tried it before and stopped after a few games. That's not true! That's not true. I've had whole days where I go random. What are we talking about? I definitely can't micro mutas, though. That part's fucking completely true. I cannot micro mutalist to save my life. If he could play random, he already did. What? It would be one of the best series for his stream than the typical Mario Erotica rage. We actually have had a couple streams where I played random. And actually, if you guys remember the last time that we played random on the stream, I played random for an entire stream. My Terran had the lowest win rate of the 3 races. That was so funny. That was so funny. We should do it again sometime. I'm nowhere near experienced or educated enough to have an opinion, but I want to express that Artosis asks for contrary opinions and thoughts, and OP is obliging with something he's obviously put a lot of consideration into. People are being needlessly denigrating to an interesting discussion. Let the man talk. That is true. That I asked in the video, I'm like, what do you guys think about this? Because I put out my thoughts that I don't think it's worth it because it does not give you an instant win. The guy that made this thread has decided that it gives you an instant win. That isn't the case.
TW donated $3. I will put up $100 American if you can get this disbelief guy to play you in a best of 3 on stream.
I'm down, of course. I will always play shit talkers. I love to do it. I fucking love to do it. And I'm undefeated, by the way, against everyone who has shit talked me on the internet that has accepted. SKHDS says, no, CC first is in fact garbage. It's an instant lose for any Zealot first builds, and 15cc is a much better build with similar economy that can at least deal with Zealot first builds. 15cc is a gasless expansion where you go barracks and then command center. And it's a very popular build because it doesn't instantly lose to builds. Also, guess what else it doesn't do? It doesn't instantly win against anything, just like CC first. Okay. Not to mention, Zealot first builds aren't even that uncommon since it's still good against Barrack double builds. Yes, true. If you scout the Zealot and pull 5 SCV, you're already losing the economic advantage you had with your CC in relative to 15 CC. So 15 CC is just better in every way. It's certainly much less risky. And it's funny that literally everyone else in here is like, what? You think you can pull 5 SCVs? The thing about bad builds is there are always a better alternative builds that is not an instant lose to losing matchups. That's why Terrans don't even do CC first all the time against Zergs. 8 Barrack is advantageous and still can win against Overpool, albeit being behind. Yep. I would contend that 1, it isn't an instant lose to Zealots, and that it comes down to micro. And 2, Zealots builds are quite uncommon in the current meta. It's mostly Gunnar Nexus first. And 3, just because a build has inherent risk doesn't mean it's a bad build. For instance, is Nexus first a bad PvZ build because it loses to 9 pool? By your logic, the build is garbage because Forge into Nexus yields a somewhat similar result, but with more safety. I would say 12 Nexus, despite the inherent vulnerability, which is even greater than that of CC first, that isn't true. That is not true. Is actually very good and worth to mix in every once in a while because it does, if it does succeed, it yields a massive advantage. I'd personally argue that CC first toss is less risky and yields are greater advantage than Nexus first does in PvZ. Okay, so I want to mention this because I professionally cast Starcraft. I put out more casts, more analysis of pro-level Starcraft games than anyone else in the world by a huge margin. By a huge margin. PvZ, you see Nexus first very commonly. It is very common. Like, probably it's higher than 10% of the time, I would say, you see CC first in these days. CC first in TVP, you almost never see, which is why when I casted it, I went on a rant and asked people what they think about it because I feel like it's just not a very good build. We have seen Command Center first against Protoss. I have watched every pro game for years, and I remember it being used like 4 times in the last 2 years. Like 4 times. So like this is like, I guess he knows more not just than me, but every Protoss pro, every Zerg pro, and every Terran pro. So I personally don't see the validity of your argument because I made up this fact. If CC first runs into the worst possible build order, Zealot first, which is uncommon in the first place and still has room to survive, doesn't that prove the build is strong? No. Oh, my God. If CC first hard counters 80% of Protoss... Hard counter... This is a term literally I made up, by the way. That is from me. I'm the first person who started saying hard counters in StarCraft. And a hard counter... It's not a hard counter. It's just not a hard counter. If it was a hard counter, it would fucking destroy the build. 4-pool is a hard counter against a wall with a hole in it. Okay? You fucking go 7-pool against a Nexus first. Okay, there's a hard counter. You just go and win. My whole point is this is not a hard counter. Oh. Nexus first is terrible against Zerg. What are you about? You on about? You should never expand without Forge versus Zerg. What? Not true. If you get lucky, the first scout on 3 to 4 player maps or a pylon scout on 2 player, you see Zerg go 12 hat, you can go 12 next. I've seen Mini go 12 against Overpool even and just wall with probes to get the cannon up if Zerg plays greedy and only builds 2 lings, which is pretty common at higher levels because Zerg wants to make as many drones as possible. Completely true. Again, the only person that seems to have a brain in this. The more you know. All right, look at that. Look at him walk it back and be like, oh, okay. That's how you're supposed to be, guys. What if your opponent goes for Dragoon range but sees your CC first, so he changes the plans and attacks with one Zealot? My God, I get Artosis gets salty, but he knows what build orders are good. What? Then the Zealot would be there so late it wouldn't be worth anything. You have to start the Zealot as soon as the gateway stops, or as soon as the gateway finishes. It's so weird. What happened here? You're right. Artosis is God. Should blindly trust him on everything build related, not like he's ever been wrong. Please show me a game where the Protoss scouts a CC first and changes his build into Zealot first and gets critical damage. You will never find that because it doesn't exist. Spoiler, you'll never find this because the time you'll scout the Terran will be after the immediate window where you can get Zealot damage. Obviously. Look, he got something right. Holy shit. Pro players never play CC first against Protoss. Do you want to give some advice to Light? I can't show you a game where that thing...
ID donated $3. Come here. Dependent Soft 2206. Growled Artosis as he parted his urethra.
No. Oh, my God. No one goes CC first. It's a TVT build. Yeah, I've seen it like 4 times in the last couple years. 14 CC works in TVZ, but mostly seen in full wallable naturals like Dominator Retros examples. Most less common maps, you can't get a free full wall. Oh, thanks. I didn't know that. Okay. He literally said in the same video that in the latter context is the worst, but in competitive play may make sense since you can play with expectations of the rival, but still the payoff is not big enough to justify the risk. Yeah, basically. That's part of the argument that I've made here. Disagree. The reason why CC first is bad versus Protoss is because if Protoss ever suspects Terran going CC first, just building a Zealot wins the game. It can only be used sporadically. Yes. If a Terran has a tendency of going CC first, Protoss would like to use Zealot builds, which don't even put you that far behind, even if it does work. Is 12 Nexus in PvZ bad? Oh, dude, he's going back to this? Really? Why is he going back to this? It's just not accurate. Can you show me a video where Terran defended Zealot pressure where Terran went CC first on maps without a natural inside your main? Your barracks would not be finished and you would need to pull 6 to 7 SCVs to fight off a Zealot. Even if you don't lose straight, you would have taken so much damage it's insurmountable. Even if Protoss went for Dragoons first, there are Reaver cheeses you can do, which is very hard to hold. 12 Nexus is more viable versus Zerg because there is a higher chance Zerg goes 12 Hatch, which is a main opening for Zerg. Nexus first is a good opening for Protoss, but it's not the main opening. CC first against Zerg is viable for the same reason as well. The main reason CC first or Rax expand versus Protoss is not used as a main build is because it automatically dies to Zealot pressure, and there are strong Reaver follow-ups. Okay. Check the first game. Juju versus Bisu. JYJ, I think he's saying. Bisu goes gateway into proxy Reaver, and JYJ manages to get into a very favorable position by 8. Yes, he does lose the game, but the point is that he held the rush and proxy robo. I casted this game. I was pretty critical of how this game was played.
The Cloud cheered. X300, you're right, Artosis is God. I blindly trust Arty on everything build related. You have never been wrong. I have never played a game of competitive Brood War, but I have watched every Artosis cast since its inception, and I know things from Arty that even professional ASL level Protoss players struggle with, just like how important Zealot legs are when Terran does a 6-fact timing. I am an SSL level player because I can critique SSL gameplay at a high level because Artosis teaches me what to say.
Yeah. No one will ever admit that, though. Fuck. Okay. Thank you. Anyways, yeah, this game in particular, I remember it reasonably well. Bisu's Zealot did so much damage, it was a free win, and then he decided, well, I'm going to proxy stuff now. And JYJ was already nonstop making Marines, so that was literally the worst thing he could ever do. Like, if you've already dealt so much damage that they're dead, just expand. And that's it. The game ends. So this was a terribly played game by Bisu, and he still ends up winning, as the guy says. This isn't even a game where he went 14cc or even racks expand. What the fuck are you talking about?
The real Apotheosis 92 donated $25.
What's up, real Apotheosis? Thank you.
People are dumb. Whether at 6. Watching people try to explain strategy that haven't got a clue might be one of the most painful things one can experience.
It's wild, man. It's wild to read this stuff because you can tell they just don't even play the game at all. They don't know anything. The way this came up, by the way, is I was talking with you, Apotheosis, about the stats and the cheesing stuff we were talking about, how I'm going to cheese more, and it's already worked for me some tonight. I don't think you were here earlier when that happened, but I mixed in a cheese and smashed an S rank player and stuff. It was awesome. But yeah, and then the guys told me about this thread because it's about that CC first game where like this guy has literally written paragraphs that are completely false about what he sees. It's really weird. But yeah, thank you. The whole post is people criticizing you because 14cc gets fucked by Zealot first, and your evidence against that is a fucking 2-player forward game into a gas steel game. How's this remotely relevant? Well, the thing is, he might have linked to the wrong game, but there is a game. It was on Apocalypse, the game that this guy is talking about. So, like, I guess maybe the game he links here is incorrect. It's not the right link. But there is a JYJ versus Bisu Command Center first game. I actually think that Bisu ended up losing that game. And he says Bisu won it anyways, but I remembered him losing that game. But anyways, I don't know. I cast too many games. Yeah, we'll skip the rest of that. Yeah. I mean, this is wild. Because a lot of Terrans are getting triggered by the statement that CC First can defend Zealot first build. I implore you to check out the ASL game between Bisu and JYJ, where Bisu goes proxy Zealot into proxy Reaver, and JYJ manages to hold it and get into a decent situation. This is pretty much a worst case scenario build matchup, and JYJ still lost. To say that Zealot first is auto lose is delusional. Oh, you mean the game where JYJ lost? So I guess JYJ did lose that game. But the thing is, the reason why it became close, because Bisu did infinity damage with it. He did infinity damage. Let's just check if this is the game so I can just show you guys. Oh, God. Get YouTube fucking Prime, Artosis. Yeah, I know. Fuck off. So where is JYJ Bisu? Okay, I think it's this right here. Okay, so I'm actually going to show you guys this, okay? We're actually going to fucking do this. Let me... Firefox. Okay, move that over here. Okay. I think this is the game. Hopefully this is not a waste of time here. Gateway, CC first. Okay, so here it is. Watch. Okay. So he's harassing heavily. He's scouted him. He scouted him second. Here come the Zealots. Okay. 18 of 18 for JYJ, 23 of 25. He puts down the proxy pylon. Okay. One. Two. Three, 4, 5, 6. Oh my God. So he's killed 6 SCVs. Okay, he's killed 6 SCVs. And it was way more than 5 that were pulled. But for some reason, JYJ, the ASL champion, his micro is not good enough. But they're at the top level. If your micro is good enough, 5 SCVs will hold Zealots. Okay? Insane. Insane. He lost more than 5 SCVs. He lost more than 5 SCVs. Now, the problem with this game and why it becomes close is because Bisu is in a 100% winning position here. Okay? He has forced nonstop Marine production. He has killed so many SCVs The problem is he decides to continue on his proxy route. When you deal that much damage, if you just make a Nexus, Terran's done. The game's over. This was a mistake because JYJ has to make units nonstop and has to make SCVs nonstop. He can't get his factory quickly. Okay? So watch this. He's going to come out and he is going to fucking bust. Watch. See, the SCV pops out. The Dragoon is coming, whatever. And now he starts to poke out because he sees that this proxy's here. This is the reason why it even became close. Is because he's allowed to kill all the buildings and Bisu doesn't have a Nexus. He could have started a Nexus. By the way, his Nexus would be done in mining right now. If instead of this Robo, he had made a Nexus, he would literally have probes mining at his Nexus. And what would JYJ have? 5 Marines and his first factory barely started. It's insane. This is the worst example ever.
I made an AI song with your voice. I think you'll love it.
Thank you. I'll check it out in a minute. But anyways, I mean, here you see, this is absolutely not an example of holding Zealots, the Zealot pressure. The Zealots got Bisu so far ahead that even when he bungles and loses all of his tech and doesn't expand for 1,000,000 years, he still ends up winning. Okay? That's crazy. Normally, if you kill all the proxy buildings and you already have an expansion up, you would just roll through a Protoss at that point. So yeah, I think this has been a wonderful thing to see here. Just this absolute shit show of a thread. So anyways, I mean, I welcome other people's thoughts on things when I cast something like this. And I'm like, I don't think that this build is very good for these reasons. It does not result in 80% victory when you get away with CC first. That is not a thing. It is 100% made up. And the thing is, like, Apotheosis messaged me and we talked about it some, and like the way that he explained it with the math of poker is like, yeah, there is a certain percentage of time that you can do this that makes it make sense. But this guy is just saying, no, this is a great build because it can hold the Zealots and still win. And it wins 80% of the time that you get away with it.
86 Nexus first cross spawn.
Dude, there's like there's almost nothing with that high of a win rate. Like you have to do 4 pool versus a walled Terran without the Ling tight wall. That is 80% plus. There's almost nothing that's 80% plus. Maybe 9 pool against Hatch first in Zerg vs. Zerg. I would say that's probably around 80%. There's almost no builds that are that high win percentage. Cross spawn Nexus first, right? 100%. But other than that, yeah, anyways, there you go.